One of the things that comes along with living in a big city like Atlanta is the crime. I don't know what causes it, and I don't know what to do to stop it. But over the last few years, crime rates in Atlanta have skyrocketed. Homicides in the city of Atlanta are up 50%. Sexual assaults, and I specifically looked up rapes here, it's up a whopping 236%. And then small crimes like theft, auto theft, those type things, they were up astronomical numbers from numbers that were taken prior to the COVID-19 outbreak and everything shutting down in the city. Crime is a major problem here in Atlanta, and I assume it is as well in a lot of big cities like New York and places like that. Today, I have come to downtown Atlanta, and I'm going to be covering a story that's heinous and sadistic, and on top of that, it's still unsolved. It's been a year and a half since this happened, since the story I'm telling today happened, and law enforcement has no leads, no suspects, and seemingly no hope of solving this case. Today I'm at Piedmont Park here in Atlanta. This place is absolutely beautiful, great views of the city. It's a cool fall day here in Georgia. This is the murder of Katherine Janness and her dog, Bowie. The story I'm telling today has all of the outward appearances of being a hate crime. As I get into the details of this story, you will understand why I say this, because it's very clear to me that a normal person did not commit this vile act. 40-year-old Katherine Janness, or Katie as she was called, and her partner, Emma Clark, they lived together for about 7 years. The two of them had a nice place near here, and they lived together with their fur baby, a pit bull named Bowie. Late in the evening on July the 28th of 2021, it was dark outside, and Bowie was signaling to Katie that he wanted to go potty. Now, Emma, she was at work at this time. She worked at a restaurant near here, and she was working the closing shift that night, which left Katie and Bowie at home by themselves. So Bowie's signaling to Katie that he wants to go potty, and Katie shoots Emma a text letting her know exactly what was happening, that she was taking Bowie out for a walk to go potty. So Katie, she gets dressed to go out for an evening walk with Bowie, and she puts his leash on him, and they walk from their house over here to Piedmont Park to not only allow Bowie to go potty, but to also so Katie could get some exercise at the same time. Now, after the events of this story, law enforcement released a surveillance picture where you can actually see Katie and Bowie walking right across the street here. You can see the rainbow colors on the road underneath her as she walks across. In fact, if you look at that picture, it looks like it was taken from right over there on that side, because you can make out that light pole over there behind them. Now, we know that Katie and Bowie would have walked towards the park, walking down the street right here where I'm walking, in this direction. But unfortunately, the security cameras in the area were not functioning, and law enforcement never had them repaired. They left them up just to give an appearance that there was cameras to try to deter crime, but we learned after the fact that they actually didn't work. Now, several hours later, it was after midnight, Emma gets off of work and she goes home, and no one's there, to her surprise. Emma quickly started to become worried because Katie and Bowie had been gone for hours and neither one of them had come back, and they should have been back long before she got off. So Emma tries to text and she tries to call Katie, and she gets no answer. So she's starting to get really concerned, and she uses a tracker app on her phone. I think I read somewhere where it was the Find My iPhone app, but it was something like that, a tracker app like that. She opens up the app and she checks, and she very quickly gets a location where Katie's phone is. And it's showing that it's still in Piedmont Park, but it's not moving. Emma's obviously panicking at this point, thinking that something's gone wrong. So she quickly gets dressed to head over to the park, and she starts walking this way. It was right around 1 a.m. when Emma made it to this entrance right here at Piedmont Park. She notices up ahead, a few feet past the gate, that Bowie is just laying on the ground, not moving, and he's all by himself. As Emma gets closer to Bowie, she is able to look at his face, and she notices that he has cuts, deep cuts in his face in the shape of an X right across the front of his face. It only took a few seconds, and she quickly notices that Bowie isn't breathing, and his throat had also been cut. Now, I imagine from this point, Emma starts freaking out. She had just found her beloved pet murdered, laying in the park, and her partner, Katie, isn't anywhere around. She's nowhere to be found. She's also in a bigger dilemma at this point because she doesn't want to leave Bowie, but she can't find her partner. So she wants to get up and go find her partner, but she also doesn't want to leave Bowie laying there. I don't know this for a fact, but I get the impression that Emma is a dog person, and if you're like me, a dog person, I would be devastated if something ever happened to my dog, Bella. And I just can't imagine what she went through. I'm sure she was heartbroken, and she was devastated over finding her beloved family pet laying there murdered. But then at the same time, she has no clue where her partner is. Emma reluctantly leaves Bowie laying there for a moment, and she continues walking further into the park, only a few more feet. And Emma, unfortunately, stumbles across a grisly and brutal crime scene. One that none of us could ever imagine seeing. And to make matters worse, Emma instantly knew, despite the variables here that we're going to talk about in a moment, but Emma instantly knew that this horrific crime scene that she had just discovered was that of the person that she loved. Emma had just discovered the deceased and disfigured human remains of her partner, Katherine, janness. Emma finds Katie. She's laying off over here on the side of the path in this wooded area. Her shirt is pulled up, and her pants and her underwear are pulled down around her ankles, and she's been mutilated. There's stab wounds all over her body. It's just horrible, absolutely horrible that someone could do something like this to another human being. Now, as you can imagine, anyone would be upset finding a scene like this, but this was her other half. This was Emma's other half. Emma was obviously distraught, and somehow, while she's frantically screaming, she somehow manages to call 911.
911, operator 7959. What's the address to your emergency?
Sir, I'm at the entrance of Piedmont Park. I just was searching for my girlfriend's phone because I couldn't find her. She's dead. She's here at Piedmont Park. Please help.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
Yes, sir. Please send help. Please.
All right, yes, ma'am. I'm going to send help to you.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Very quickly, investigators with the Fulton County Sheriff's Department and the Atlanta Police Department race here to Piedmont Park, and they tape off the area, and they begin trying to figure out what happened. The scene and the state that Katie Janness was left in was unlike anything any of the officers had ever seen before. You have to be some really sick person to do this to another human, and they knew this right away. The first thing they do is canvass the park, looking for witnesses, and they look for any surveillance footage they can find, which is how they got the image of Katie and Bowie walking across the rainbow-painted crosswalk. But like I said earlier, most of the cameras in the area did not work. They were old, and they were outdated, and they could not match up to current-day software, but the Atlanta Police Department just left them there, even though they weren't working. And it was so that criminals would think that there were working cameras there, and the police department thought that hopefully this would deter crime from happening, but like I said, they didn't work. There is one camera that points directly at the front gate. It did not catch the assault, but it did catch a few people who were coming in and out of the park. At one point in time, there were like 3 kids together coming in and out, and another time there was a male who appeared to be jogging that came out through the gate. So police quickly went to news agencies and social media, and they posted screenshots of these people, and they asked for them to come forward so they could talk to them. Now, in the following days after the attack, law enforcement officials gave press conferences and they talked to news agencies, but they never identified any suspects or offered up any leads to who may have done this. A few weeks after the assault on Katie, her autopsy report was released to the world, and it showed just how gruesome this crime really was. Now, we know that when Katie was found, her pants and underwear were down around her ankles and her shirt was pulled up, exposing her chest. Law enforcement has not released any information on the sexual assault test that was performed. The autopsy does not show any information about the sexual assault either, but most people will infer from that that's probably what happened here. Well, it's probably what caused the sick individual to go after Katie in the first place. He was probably in the park stalking her. Then more than likely, when she least expected it, he snuck up behind her and somehow managed to get Bowie out of the question, and then proceeded to subdue Katie and then conduct this horrible, vile crime on her. Now, the next part of this story is going to be kind of hard to hear. So if you have a squeamish stomach, I would kind of fast forward a little bit here. I will put a time up here on the screen for you to fast forward to after I've gotten done editing this, and I'm posting it on YouTube for you guys to see. For those of you who are still here, Katie's autopsy showed that she had been stabbed with a knife more than 30 different times. 15 of those stab wounds were directly in her face and neck area, and then 25 of those stab wounds were in her back. 14 of the stab wounds in her back were all in like one spot. She had a tattoo, and the killer, it was like he just kept stabbing that tattoo over and over and over again, 14 different times. Katie's shirt was pulled up, as I said, exposing her chest area, and the killer also carved deep lacerations around her breast, which exposed some of the tissue underneath. Then the sick bastard carved the letters F-A-T across her stomach, just across her stomach. He carved the letters FAT across her stomach. This is sick. Why would someone do something like this? To first not only assault her, but then to carve her up like this, it's absolutely sickening. It's been a year now, a little bit over a year and 3 months since Katherine Janness and her beloved pet Bowie were found laying here at Piedmont Park, and to date, no one has been arrested, no one has been charged. Police have not even said that they even have a person of interest or any leads to follow in this case. The Atlanta Police Department did come out and say that they believe Katherine may have knew her killer because of the way that this happened, that it seemed to be very personal. Maybe it was someone that she rejected at some point, or maybe it was someone that was close to the family, because the killer was able to get close enough to Katie with Bowie there to do this, and that may be a clue that Bowie had even met this person before and felt comfortable around them. Law enforcement says that situations like this, which they would call an overkill with all these different stab wounds, that typically means that there were high emotions between the killer and the victim. They knew each other. The citizens of Atlanta, they have tried to connect Katie's murder with other assaults and other murders across the city. It's been suggested by some people that there may be a serial killer on the loose. And in fact, the TV channel Oxygen, which is known for their true crime content, even posted an article about a possible serial killer in the area. The police department hasn't commented on any of those other situations, but they would come out and say that they do not believe a serial killer is on the loose. But they didn't offer any evidence to show otherwise either.
I know there have been several rumors that there is a serial killer on the loose in our city. We don't have any evidence of that.
It seems that law enforcement is no closer to solving this case than they were the night that it happened. People came from all over Atlanta, and they left flowers and they left dog treats and other mementos right by the entrance to Piedmont Park here in Katherine and Bowie's memory. And then just several months ago now, in an attempt to keep this case active and in the public spotlight, the people of Atlanta got together again and they erected a bench at the dog park here in Piedmont Park in honor of Katherine and Bowie. There's a plaque on it with both of their names right at the top of the bench, and it is a touching tribute, but it's definitely not the same as having both of them right here with us. All of Katherine and Emma's neighbors say that the two of them were nothing but nice. They would help anyone in the neighborhood who needed help, and they were rays of sunshine on a cloudy day to all of their neighbors in this community. This is just a horrible crime, and the fact that it's still unsolved over a year later it's weighing on the community here. With that said, if you or anyone you know has any information about the brutal murders of Katherine, Janness, and Bowie, please, please, please contact the Atlanta Police Department. I'm sure that there is a reward out there for any information leading to the arrest of this despicable person who committed this vile act. So for one, we can get the sick person off the streets, and for two, so that Katherine and Bowie can both get justice. At one point, I know the reward was over $100,000, and part of that was even being offered up by PETA, the animal activist group, just because of what happened to Bowie here. But truthfully, even if there was no award being offered, you should still come forward. They didn't deserve to be treated like this by another human being. Definitely. It's just sick. So you should definitely come forward if you know anything or you've heard someone talking. That is going to do it for this episode today from here in downtown Atlanta, right smack dab in the middle of Atlanta at Piedmont Park. I have several more videos lined up after this one that's both unique, they're interesting stories that you don't want to miss, so make sure you come back and check those out. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, go down, hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. If you're one of those asking to help support the channel, there's links in the description box below. But you guys watching my videos and hitting the thumbs up button, that just means more to me than anything else. I will see you in the next one. Please, all of you, stay safe and stay healthy. Much love to you all. And let's get justice for Katherine, Janness, and Bowie. Much love to you all.